We are now well over a month into the season, and it's time to look back at this 2023 Dynasty rookie class. Where do we stand? Who do we still believe in? Who has skyrocketed up rankings?
Yep.
We're going to look at that here today. We are redrafting, re-ranking, if you will, the 2023 Dynasty rookie class. So without further ado, let's get straight into it. Badaki, I've given you the 101. Now, remember, consensus here was Bijan Robinson. So let's see what you do here. We'll go ahead and start this thing off for us. So at the 101, you are on the clock. And what are you going to do here?
I'm on the clock, and I think that stays the same. You know,
okay.
What we've seen from Bijan Robinson has been phenomenal so far. You know, the first couple weeks has been very, hey, why is Tyler Algier there? But we told you guys, don't worry about Tyler Algier. Now he is taking over. He is currently the RB7 as we are recording this video through week 5. We're going into week 6 right before this week. But yeah, Bijan Robinson still my 101.
All right, so Bijan Robinson is the pick. And, you know, there is reason to discuss who the first overall pick is. When I did this exercise, Badaki, it was really hard. Like, let's just start from the very beginning here and say, Badaki, this is very difficult right now to rank 100%. This class. It is more difficult than it has been in recent years.
Because we don't have a full
season.
We don't have a full season right now under our belt. We're only 6 weeks in, you know. So we're really going in blind without seeing the second half of how these guys perform.
We are going based off of what, 25% of the season, you know, so it's a little bit unfair. But I think there is a legitimate case for a new 101. I'm not saying there is a new 101. I'm saying there's a reason to discuss the possibility. For me, that would be potentially, where is he? CJ Stroud.
Here we go.
I think there is at least a conversation that we need to have about the possibility of him being the new 101. And the only reason I even say that is because I'm thinking about Dynasty startups next year. Okay? And Dynasty Superflex startups next year. Will people build their team around CJ Stroud first or Bijan Robinson? A quarterback who is breaking records that Andrew Luck set. No interception so far at the time of recording this. The only quarterback through that many starts and that many passing attempts with no interceptions. He's been good for fantasy football. He's turning Nico Collins into a superstar. Tank Dell looks like the guy as well. My question, I'm throwing it out there. Like, in April of next year, in March of next year, in July of next year, when we're doing Dynasty startup drafts for Superflex leagues, who's being drafted first, Stroud or Bijan? And I don't know the answer.
Right.
I'm just throwing the question out there. I'd love to hear from people in the chat. What I will say, though, Badaki, is as good as Stroud has been, because there's been like a little bit of a narrative like A-Rich, Stroud over Bijan, right?
Right.
As good as they have been, you could also make the counter case that Bijan Robinson is 1 in a million.
Exactly.
Like, in today's fantasy football, in today's dynasty football, how many running backs do you have like Bijan Robinson out there? Everything is a committee. No one's getting guaranteed touches. Everyone's getting injured. How many times you get a chance to get a superstar stud who is this young? So there's a case for both sides, but it is crazy, man. It's a tough one to call.
No, I completely agree, and that's exactly why I went Bijan. I mean, the last time we saw running back picked in the top 8 in the NFL draft was Saquon Barkley, right? You think of that, and you think of that draft capital. Not saying CJ Stroud is not the guy. I think what we've seen in the first 5 weeks has been phenomenal. I think he has some sort of if he continues to go the way he's going, he is going to be going into his second year as a Justin Herbert type player, right? After Justin 100%. Herbert, going into Justin Herbert's second year, he was already a top 8 quarterback coming into that year. And I think that's exactly what we can see with CJ Stroud. You know, we're taking him over the Deshaun Watsons. Then you have a contemplation and conversation with yourself of the Trevor Lawrences, of the Lamar Jacksons, of whoever else is in that group within the top 8 in the middle of the first round there for you guys. So yeah, I love CJ Stroud right here.
I currently, as today of recording this video, I have CJ Stroud ranked as my quarterback 9 in Dynasty. He's in the same tier as Trevor, Lamar, Tua,
That's the thing.
Yeah.
We're gonna have those conversations with ourselves.
Yeah, we will.
Going into next year. Is like, dang, who do I go? Do I go with the younger talent,
Yeah.
or do I go with the guys that are 2, 3, 4, 5 years into the NFL already? So I completely agree.
We made a waiver wire video for our redraft channel, and I actually compared Stroud and Justin Herbert. I compared their first 4 games. Herbert was a little bit more accurate, but Stroud had more passing yards. He had a better touchdown to interception ratio. They both had quarterback ratings over 100, and they both had over 21 fantasy points per game. And you can make an argument, as good as Nico Collins has looked, that Herbert had incredible weapons to start his career.
Exactly.
So, yeah, there's a lot of reasons for optimism over there in Houston.
Yeah.
But you're up here at the 103. We could talk for days.
Yeah, with this.
But you're at the 103. Another tough decision. What are you thinking?
Another tough decision. I'm going to go with, I guess I'm going to go with my recency bias of somebody that I still like, still believe in. He just went on IR as we are recording this video.
Yeah.
And that is Anthony Richardson. What we've seen from Anthony.
I don't think that's recency bias. That was kind of what we were seeing before.
Maybe. And
the year.
And that is Anthony Richardson, right? What we've seen for him in the first 5 weeks has been great. Obviously, he's been injured for those games, but the way he has been competing, the way he has putting up fantasy points throughout these weeks has been phenomenal, and that's exactly something that I really was not expecting. I think we all came in and said, you know what, we need to dial back our expectations. Week 1. Over 22 fantasy points. And then, obviously, week 2, he plays...
Quarterback 4 on the week.
Yeah, quarterback 4 on the week. And then he jump into week 4, 32 fantasy points against the Rams, a high-scoring game. Not only that, he comes back, or he misses the game. It was Gardner Minshew that kind of comes back and beats the Ravens. But it was such a good game for all these games so far. Obviously, he's missing games, now out on IR with that shoulder injury. We're not going to see his true full season for Anthony Richardson, but the rushing upside there. Now Jonathan Taylor stays for the next 3 years. So I think this is a foundational piece when you move forward.
I think he is the clear, like, to me, but this is the clear top 3. Whatever order you guys want to place them, to me, this is the clear, solidified top 3 at this point of the year. Bijan, Stroud, Richardson in some order. Some people might have Richardson higher. That's okay. If you think about it, in games where he has been healthy, he has not finished outside the top 5 at the quarterback position on those weeks. Quarterback 2 and quarterback 4 finishes. The issue is he's only played really 2 healthy games so far this year. Yeah. And I'm not saying they're going to change the way that they deploy him, but that could be a problem if they have to. So yeah, it's going to be interesting, man. That is already the signs look great for Anthony Richardson.
Completely agree.
And here I am at the 104. Can I just say, Badaki, genuinely, and I know this sounds like a cop-out, but I genuinely believe that from the 104 to the 111, the 1-4 to the 111, honestly, 100% in my heart and my soul, I am telling you, there are so many. Any one of these players could be your next 104.
100%,
truly.
100%.
Like, honestly, it is so close. And there are reasons to believe in pedigree and in draft capital. And there's reasons to believe in production and history and what we're seeing. So we put out a poll on our YouTube channel a couple of weeks ago. And we basically asked people, hey, you get to add one of these wide receivers to your dynasty team. Okay. And the wide receivers that I put up there was Zay Flowers, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Jordan Addison, and Puka Nacua.
Oh boy.
Okay.
Oh boy.
And that poll, there's 4,000 votes there. And that poll, 47% of people said Puka Nacua. And as someone who, I love Puka Nacua, we brought him up in February. This is a guy we were drafting everywhere, Badaki. We have so much stock of him in the 3rd and 4th rounds. As someone who loved Puka and someone who has loved JSN, I am fully aware that JSN will be much, much better than what he has been. Lockett is not the long-term answer. After this bye week, we could see JSN worked in more and more and more. However, I also don't want to be stuck in take lock. So there will be comments where people will say, this is going to age like milk. And there'll be people who will say, there's no way you can't put Puka here. What I'm doing is, at this very moment, the answer for me would be Puka Nacua. This is a guy that had an ADP of 3rd round, 4th round in most leagues, and we were snatching him up everywhere. But how at this point, truly, how do you not have him there? He's made history. He has made history.
Yeah.
Every single week, breaking history. No one has ever done this. We have never, ever seen this. There's no precedent for what we are seeing from Puka Nacua. The good news as well, we've seen Cooper Kupp back, and Puka Nacua still got 10 targets.
I hear you.
This offense is Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. And Matt Stafford looks like he's back in his best ever form. And for all those reports about will Sean McVay stay, how long does he have, how long does Stafford have, you think those guys aren't loving their life right now playing football with this wide receiver core of Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, Tutu Atwell? I think they're absolutely revived. I would not be surprised if this staff and this quarterback and Matt Stafford are there for the next 4 years. And what we know is that this year more than ever, you could make an argument that situation so far has mattered a little bit more than talent in certain scenarios. So
right.
I'm going Puka here, but again, it is a tough call right now.
Yeah, no, look, this makes sense. I completely understand. And, you know, this is something I was contemplating. I went to go look at Matthew Stafford's contract. I went to go trying to find Sean McVay. I went to go see what's happening with Aaron Donald. It looks like you have a good solid 2 more years with Matthew Stafford, with Puka, even Cooper Kupp as well. You know, they're going to do everything possible to keep all these guys together. So, look, you can go either way. Do you go with the draft capital, or do you go with what you've seen on the field so far and how these people are being utilized, which is very difficult here.
History.
Yeah.
You know, like no wide receivers ever done the things that Puka has done in the 100+ history of the game. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't even think he's nowhere near the most talented player in this class at the wide receiver position. He might not even be top 4 in talent.
And I think that's what a lot of people would say.
But it's the perfect fit.
You know, like if Matthew Stafford does walk away next year, are you still taking Puka, you know,
No, for sure.
as a top? And
I'll talk about Jason in a second, but
yeah,
there's a conversation to be had.
100%. All right. I'm at the 105 here. Like Zach said, you can go either way. And I'm still going to be leaning on, if you think about in a super flex standpoint, I know this person hasn't played the best, but we saw his best game this past week. Over 26 fantasy points, 3 touchdowns, and he's still getting acclimated. You know, he is the leader on this team. He's telling these veteran offensive linemen, step up. He's telling these other wide receivers to step up, and that's exactly what he's doing. That is Bryce Young. What's crazy, you know, the first overall pick, there already talks about them needing a true wide receiver 1. We haven't even seen Jonathan Mingo on the field as much.
Well, we have. He's been on the field over 90% of snaps.
I'm saying, like, we haven't seen him in the true capacity that we hoped we saw. We were hoping to see him coming out of the season. Miles Sanders also dealing with injury. So there's so many different factors that kind of play a part into it. And this is the kind of expectation that we were having for all of these rookies. If you were to tell us that C.J. Stroud, Anthony Richardson, and Bryce Young were all having the same season as Bryce Young's having right now, we're saying that's what we expected, you know. Don't go too crazy because you're comparing C.J. Stroud and Anthony Richardson, and now you're punting on Bryce Young. We're seeing so many. I'm seeing that all over Twitter already. I'm seeing that in the comments.
Oh, yeah.
I'm seeing that Bryce Young is done for. He's too small of a quarterback. Yeah. He's too this and that. No, he's still number 1 overall pick. I'm seeing it in our
league chats, man.
Yeah.
You know who you are, guys. Giving up on him already.
Relax. You know, give him the full season. You know, we expect that second-year jump to happen with them improving their team. So I'm taking Bryce Young here at the 105.
I am so glad you did that because that's exactly how I had it ranked as well.
Okay,
Bryce
awesome.
Young, still someone that I am fully believing in. And go look at Trevor Lawrence's rookie stats, guys. You know, like we have always preached in Dynasty, never judge rookies, and especially as quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Give them at least until their second year before you can start criticizing them. Let them take that second-year jump. And, I'm really glad that you said that. They're going to build a better team around him. And if Adam Thielen is your wide receiver 1, you got some serious problems. All right.
Here we go.
Here we are.
Here we go.
Another terribly difficult position to be in. But I'm going to go ahead and this is where, all right, I am digesting what we have seen so far, but I'm not completely ignorant of the future, of what I still believe, of what I am still projecting.
Okay.
And at this point, this is where I would still go ahead and grab Jackson Smith-Njigba. This is a wide receiver that I had over Jahmyr Gibbs. A lot of people said it was dumb, but yeah, I was kind of trying to defend myself. And right now, I guess you can make the case that really that's not Like, really, there's some people who probably still have Gibbs over JSN with the lack of production that he's had.
Yeah.
But he has not been deployed in any way that makes sense, in any way that favors fantasy football. This guy is basically, I was thinking about it, he's basically Wan'Dale Robinson if Wan'Dale Robinson was the third option on a fantasy on an NFL team. Everything short little dumps.
Yeah.
Nothing down the field. And you know, what we always say is after the bye week, we typically see, it's not always, but I would say it's a good 70% of the time. After a bye week, you start to see rookies get a little bit more ramped up. They get more opportunities. They step into bigger roles. And Tyler Lockett has looked good, but Tyler Lockett is not the long-term answer.
Agreed.
With this move with JSN, I'm betting on the pedigree. I'm betting on all the film I watched at Ohio State. I'm betting on the wide receivers we've seen come out of Ohio State in the first round. I'm betting on this offense figuring it out with JSN long-term, not just in the first 5 weeks of a season. So I'm going JSN there. And I wanted to quickly talk about JSN/Puka because for me, Badaki, you know, I realize I have Puka there. Maybe I'm falling into a little bit of, you know, not wanting to look like an idiot. But honestly, like in our home league, for example, Badaki, I have JSN. If someone sent me an offer for Puka, I don't think I would accept it. And that's a scenario in which I already have a very good team, and I'm just going to let JSN become the player I think he could be, rather than just banking in on the first 5 weeks of production.
Yeah.
So I know, like, is it, like we said, there's so much conversation to be had here, but am I contradicting myself? I don't know. Some people might say that, but there are certain scenarios where I am keeping JSN.
Right.
But hey, if I'm in a team where, oh my God, I think I'm competing right now, I think I can win. Hey man, I'll give you Puka. Maybe I might pull the trigger. So
maybe. I think it just depends.
I just wanted to start that dialogue.
I think it's tough. You know, like when you think about the players, you know, 4 or 5 years, not even 4, let's say 2 to 3 years into their career, I think the perfect example is like a Stephon Diggs, right? Wasn't he like a 4th round pick?
Right.
Kind of really breaking out. No one expected him to be this guy. When it happens really early, it's kind of scary. You know, when you think of a Monroe where like it didn't pop off the first 5 weeks. It popped off in the second half of the season. And we're saying, okay, well, let's see it next year because we only saw in the second half of the season where it feels like this is going to be a full season for Puka, which is very, very difficult to really evaluate when it comes down to it. Okay.
You know, I'm so glad you made that comparison, the Amon-Ra comparison, because remember, we spent multiple years of people selling Amon-Ra high. Sell Amon-Ra high. Sell him, sell
100%.
him, sell him. He doesn't have the draft capital.
And
You know,
Swift
yes, he was
out.
a great, he
TJ
was a great
Hawkinson was out.
prospect,
You know,
but didn't have the draft capital. All these reasons, and then people who kept Amon-Ra or bought him ended up, winning
Loving
that
it.
debate. So even though he didn't have top 3 round draft capital, but anyway, you're at the 107 here. I'm not even sure what time looks like.
we have just going into 19 and a half minutes, so we got another.
Let's get it
10-ish
rolling here at
minutes.
the 107. Then.
All right, 107 here. Man, this one's so difficult. I can either go wide receiver, running back here,
or
tight end.
I think there's another option
you
too.
can go tight end. I get you. I hear you.
Uh-huh.
I'm still going to go. Oh, I'm still going to go wide receiver personally.
Okay, I need to know who.
I'm going to go wide receiver, and I'm going to be going Zay Flowers.
Okay. All right.
The way and everything that we've seen from Zay Flowers so far, it is makes me realize how much more important he is to this team.
Oh yeah.
Without OBJ, without Rashad Bateman, without the running game, it's clear. Coming into the season, everyone was saying, well, Rashad Bateman's going to take a next step up. It's not going to be Zay Flowers. It's going to be Mark Andrews. They've all kind of struggled in their ways, right? But the person that has stepped up in the wide receiver room specifically has been Zay Flowers. And something that we all been talking about all coming into the season was like, OBJ is not going to stay on the field. He's already missed 2 to 3 games. Rashad Bateman, can he take the next step? He's already missing a couple games, and he's not having that chemistry with Lamar Jackson. I think Zay Flowers is vital to this team, not only now, but in the future, 2-3 years down the road. He is important. He is clearly the wide receiver 1 on this team, and he fits the perfect scheme for this Lamar Jackson offense. So I think Zay Flowers is the perfect guy to come here right now. Maybe that's recency bias. Maybe I shouldn't have taken him over some other people, but
no,
I think it makes sense. And in reality, I'm only drafting him 2 spots ahead of where he was going before.
Right.
So it's not like it's a massive jump. So I like Zay Flowers here.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. You know, so even at the 107, now here I am at the 108. I want people to understand that this is so difficult. Truly, there's 4 players I want to draft here.
I hear you.
Honestly, there are 4 players that I want to draft right here, right now.
Right. I was gonna say, like, in a PPR standpoint, right? Like, I don't think we would have. Anyways, I don't want to go into it because it would create a completely different conversation, and we're crunched with time.
If we were drafting for tight end premium purposes, I think Laporta would have probably been the 106. I'm just being honest. Like, if you're in a tight end premium,
that's completely
Laporta's
fair.
probably the 106. He might even be the 105. But we're not doing that today. So there's a guy that I loved all throughout the process. I got a lot of hate for it. He's too small. He's too small.
He'll
never succeed in the NFL. He's only going to be limited in his role. And all I said was that man needs 8 to 12 touches a game to make a huge fantasy impact. And he landed in the perfect position. My RB2 in the class. Yeah, over Jahmyr Gibbs. Eat it if you don't agree. That's okay. You can agree to disagree.
Eat it if you don't
Devon
agree.
A-Chan here at the 108. This man is ridiculous. This is the closest I have seen to Chris Johnson since watching Chris Johnson with my own eyeballs. Maybe the closest as well to Jamal Charles. Check this out. Devon A-Chan in 2023, guys. Yards per attempt, he is first in the NFL. He has over 12 yards per attempt. On average, he is getting a first down every time he touches the ball on the ground.
It's crazy.
12 yards per attempt.
It's crazy.
His explosive run rate, which is, these are the percentage of his runs over 15 yards, 18.4%. That is first in the NFL. His missed tackles forced per attempt, this was the big part of A-Chan's game. I was trying to encourage people on my Twitter, on our videos. Yes, he's small, but this dude is one of the best through contact in that class. So far this year in the NFL, missed tackles forced per attempt, he is 6th amongst running backs. Yards at their contact per attempt, he is 3rd amongst running backs. This man is different. They don't make him like this, okay? And if you're going to be the person in the comments saying, oh, but he's already injured. I told you he was too small. He was already injured. I saw this coming. This is why you can't rank Devon A-Chain too high. Okay, so let me ask you then. Are we giving Nick Chubb a pass then? Are we giving J.K. Dobbins a pass? How about Saquon, Breece Hall? How about Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry, Javonte? How about James Conner this year? How about Austin Eckler? Do those guys get a free pass? You play one of the most dangerous sports in the world, and you play the most injured position. Running backs get injured. All running backs get injured. But yeah, this is where I would go A-Chan myself. So perfect system, like behind the perfect offensive line. He only needs 10 to 12 touches per game to be a top 15 running back every week. And I personally am not someone who believes that when he's back and ready, that his job is in jeopardy. I think he's more than proven that it's his job. And he might not ever be like a 20-touch guy per game, but that's not what we ever thought he would be. So, yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm not saying he's not worthy of a first round. I think he's phenomenal. What he has done so far has been absolutely crazy. He exceeded my expectations. I was not expecting this to happen. My biggest thing always coming in was that what's going to happen, not specifically, I mean, the big conversation was going to happen this year. But I guess you can't really put it into this year because we thought Zeke was going to get picked up. We thought Lenny was going to get picked up, Kareem Hunt. That wasn't the case. Now, my biggest concern now is what's going to happen next year. I know, not saying that they're not going to keep this backfield like Raheem Mostert or Jeff Wilson. I do believe I can see them both leaving. But who are the free agents coming into next year that can come onto this team? And I know this is the big conversation, but like I'm not saying that he's not going to do much even with the role that he's going to have. But what if somebody demands roles? I don't think Raheem Mostert or Jeff Wilson clearly demands roles, but someone this
This has been a point of disagreement for you and I throughout the entire process. I've never understood this.
My biggest thing is if a big name comes in, no matter where they are in their career, how does that affect Devon A-Chain? A-Chain. Maybe they're
You're
older.
saying a player that demands touches. Tell me, from what we've seen from Devon, how he does not demand touches. How do they not, regardless of who's back there with him, give him 10 opportunities a game?
And I understand that, and I can't argue with that. My biggest thing is, what happens if he gets 10 touches a game and he doesn't have those massive breakout runs? What we've seen so far is that
that's okay. He's not going to score 50 points every game.
Yeah, and I
just
agree.
need him to average somewhere around 15.
Yeah, and he's super exceeded that. So
yeah, and I'm not sitting here saying he's going to be a 30 point per game scorer.
Yeah, and my biggest thing is, I'm not taking that away from him. I'm not saying that he's not going to be that. I'm saying I don't think anyone there demands touches over him, even with the limited touches that he does have. So I can't think of names that are going to be a free agent. The first one I can think of is Saquon Barkley. What happens if Saquon Barkley goes to this team? What happens?
A-Chan still gets 10 to 12.
You know, what happened if Josh Jacobs goes to this team? What happened if?
Still.
I'm just saying, as the hypotheticals, how are we still viewing Devon in that matter? Maybe it's a little bit different with those running backs specifically because they're older in their second contract. But what happens if we have someone as good? I don't know the 2024 running back class, but what happens if there is a top 5 running back in this class that can really take away opportunity? And yeah, look, once again,
I scouted this class. There might not be a first round running back in this class,
and that's phenomenal for Devon, and which is great long term. So that's the only thing I'm thinking of.
That whole conversation is always like, I've never really understood it. It's like, what would happen next year? It's like, and my rebuttal to that was always, let's not worry about next year. Next year will come next year.
I hear you.
And I don't know. I think
it's a lot of conversations.
Someone who is proving themselves, and then like, it's like, well, what happens next year? It's like, this is a guy that you demand touches for in your offense. Like, you know, the guy that you're talking about is Devon A-Chan. He demands touches. You know, you'll bring in someone. That's the NFL. It's not a one-man show for most NFL teams.
Yeah, and that's fair. Look, I'm not saying that he's bad anymore. I was completely wrong. I'm not saying that he is not going to be this guy. We can have this conversation. I can bring up, we can have this conversation forever. We're pressed with time, and I don't want to go.
Sure, I just don't think there's any comparison you can have for Devon A-Chain because he is one of one. Like
not of talent.
One player like him in the last 20 years at the running back.
Yeah, not of talent, but I think there's situations that could be eerily similar, in my opinion.
I don't think there's a running back that they bring in where Devon A-Chan doesn't get 8 to 12 touches per game.
Yeah, and I
don't see a way that he's taken off the field.
And I completely understand that. All right, I'm at the 109 here. There, once again, I think there is still a lot of people that can be taken right here at the 109. I'm still going to take this. It's another running back here. I do believe he's still worthy of a first round personally. I know a lot of people are concerned, but that is Jahmyr Gibbs.
This might be the first time we heavily disagree.
Yeah, I'm going to take Jahmyr Gibbs, and I know the biggest conversation is what's going to happen with David Montgomery. It's clear like David Montgomery is the lead back here. We haven't seen him deployed correctly. He's been a top 12 he was drafted in the top 12 running back. I don't think you spend a top 12 draft pick without utilizing him the way that we've seen.
Can I hop in here real quick? Because I assume you haven't heard Dan Campbell's comment on that backfield today.
No, I've heard it. I've seen it.
Okay.
And I am not saying that is not a huge reason why I'm still iffy about this, but I'm going based off draft capital. I'm going based off talent. And even though David Montgomery has been phenomenal in the first 5 weeks, he is the workhorse, right? Dan Campbell said David Montgomery is our workhorse. He's going to be our lead back. I think for this year, absolutely. What happens?
He's got a 3-year contract.
I completely agree. He does have a 3-year contract. But what happens when Jahmyr Gibbs has that one crazy game and the Lions say, holy shit, this is what we had. This is why we drafted him. And I could be wrong. And I'm still going based off draft capital. I'm going based off talent of what we know of Jahmyr Gibbs. And, we all took him in the top 6 picks because of what we expected him to be, even with David Montgomery. Even with the way we thought this backfield was going to work out. And I still think there's time. I still think we've only been in this season for 5 weeks so far. If from weeks 10 onwards, he's a top 10 back, we're saying, dang, this is why we drafted Jahmyr Gibbs in the top 6, even with Dave Montgomery. Big hypotheticals, big ways to plan. Once again, going with my belief in the player and the draft capital.
So I think there are some areas where we can overreact and some areas where I think this is how it is. You said we all drafted him in the top 6 picks. I did too. And I'm sitting here today telling you that was a mistake. Jahmyr Gibbs should not have been a pick in the top 6. Now, everything made sense for that to be the case.
Mm-hmm.
This head coach, this coaching staff is telling us exactly how they want to use Jahmyr Gibbs. And it's not as a feature back. That's not happening, in my opinion. When Montgomery is healthy, Montgomery is doing that. And clearly they didn't draft him to ever be a workhorse. So if Montgomery, let's say Montgomery has an ACL tear this week, they're bringing in another running back to complement Gibbs. And maybe next year they draft a Tank Bigsby talent and put him to pair with Gibbs. But Monty has a 3-year contract. I hate to say it, and I'll hold my hands up and say I'm wrong if I am. This is DeAndre Swift all over again.
Oh, really boy. Is. Oh, boy.
It really,
that is
honestly,
sad.
is. And I think this is the first time we have a heavy disagreement. Now, I might rank players in a different way so far, but
yeah.
I'm heavily disagreeing with the Gibbs pick. There are 2 players I feel much stronger about. And
that's fair. And that's fair.
One of them is my tight end 1 right now in Dynasty.
Here we go.
I think Laporta, even in a non-tight end premium format, he's got to be ranked ahead of Jahmyr Gibbs.
Okay.
Absolutely has to, in my opinion. Now, we'll agree to disagree. That's okay.
Yeah,
but
that's fine.
We're talking about the tight end 1 in scoring so far through the year. Now, Kelsey missed a game, yeah. Laporta is going to break rookie records. Yeah, he's on track. He will break the receiving record, the receiving yardage record, and he is the tight end 1 in Dynasty, in my opinion. He is the perfect fit with Jared Goff. I think Jameson Williams will get more and more involved, but Laporta is the safety blanket. He is the glue to this offense, and we've already seen him heavily used in the end zone. Now, there's some regression probably on the way this year for the amount of touchdowns that he's had, but we know he's a red zone threat for this team. And at a position where it is absolute hell, you have a guy in Sam Laporta that you feel confident starting every week, and he's doing this as a rookie. To me, in my original rankings, I actually had him ranked at the 107. So between Achane and Laporta, kind of like around the 107 area.
Right. That's fair.
Yeah, I mean, in a tight end premium, like we said earlier, but you could make a case for him at the 105. But yeah, I'm going to go Laporta here.
No, that makes sense. Look, I love Sam Laporta. You know me. I was a big advocate for Sam Laporta coming into this year. I think I released a Dynasty video saying players that can break out, and Sam Laporta was on that list. And, obviously we had disagreements on that early in the year.
Yeah,
but yes,
props to you.
Sam Laporta has been phenomenal. And exactly what we expected him to be utilized, at least the way I expected him, the way with J-Mo being out. But like you said, regression could be coming here. Jahmyr Gibbs is not getting the workload that we expected. And J-Mo coming off of that suspension now. So we'll wait and see what
and
that
I don't want it
like.
to sound like I'm completely out on Jahmyr Gibbs. I just think there's no way he should be valued ahead of Laporta and one other name that's still on the board.
And I understand. I understand. Look, I've drafted a lot of Jahmyr Gibbs. I think we're all in panic mode right now. But it's crazy to say that you're going to draft you look at your head office and you said you're going to draft the top 12 guy that you moved up for. They moved up for, if I'm not mistaken, or moved back maybe.
They moved down.
Yeah, they moved back to get him. But anyway, still
they've already told us how they plan on using him, though.
Mm-hmm. What's crazy is that
straight from the horse's mouth.
What's crazy is that, like what you said, I just thought that was crazy. If Dave Montgomery goes down and they come get somebody else, that's just wild. Depending on who that somebody else is.
Yeah, well, at 200 pounds. Gibbs, like Achane, is not someone you want to rely on for 20, 25 touches. I think that's the point they're making.
And I also think that,
there's a case to be made that Achane is maybe what they wanted Gibbs to be. And I'm not saying that Gibbs won't be that player. That's not what I'm saying.
And that's what we kind of expected. We didn't expect Gibbs to come in and have the David Montgomery touches. We was like, okay, he's with David Montgomery. Expect him to get a lot of the passing work in the air. We just haven't seen that significant workload in the air specifically. I think there was only one game where he had, 9 targets. The rest has been 2, 3, 4. It's like, wait, what's happening? All right, going to my 111 here. Ooh, still a lot of people that you can take here. And
to me, there's one obvious name.
There's one obvious name. I think there is the one obvious name. Hopefully, we are on the same page. It's a wide receiver for me.
Yeah.
And that is Jordan Addison.
Yes, we're on the same page.
Jordan Addison here has been phenomenal so far. Obviously, with Justin Jefferson going down, he's going to be seeing a lot more workload coming into the season. But he's currently wide receiver 35 onto the season. But he's been averaging over 12 fantasy points per game. 16 week 1, 16 week 2, week 3, 11 points. He didn't get a catch in week 4, but comes out in week 5 against Kansas City over 18 fantasy points, and that's easily going to increase now with Justin Jefferson there. Our concern coming in with Jordan Addison was like, what's that long-term answer going to be? Who's that quarterback? But with the 2024 class looking like something, apparently having crazy depth, with Kyler Murray potentially on the move, which we would all love, there's so many different opportunities for new quarterbacks to come onto this team. So I think he'll be just fine.
Yeah, and the fact that Jefferson's on IR, Addison's going to get a ton of work, and then they're still going to get a high draft pick, so they could get another rookie quarterback in the team. I think Addison, there's a case to be made for him to be as high as the 1.6. Really, I do. Again, that's why I said from the 1.4 to the 1.11, I really think you can make a case for most of these players. Yeah, and it's like I hate to see Addison at the 111 because he's deserving of the 1.7, but it makes sense because it's tough to make these decisions. It really is.
Absolutely.
The last player that we'll go ahead and grab here is Quentin Johnston. This has nothing to do with what he's done so far. The hope is that after the bye week, they start to ramp him up. He becomes more involved. Now, Johnston is someone that I don't have much stock of. I know he was a, kind of like a my guy for you in this class. I'm a little bit skeptical, but clearly the upside is there. Do you want to say anything about Quentin? Because I know that's your guy.
I would say this. We all knew that he wasn't going to come in and be this guy until one of these guys was going to get injured. We all said that from week 1. We all said that this was going to be a long-term type of play. When Mike Williams goes down or Keenan Allen goes down, he was going to step up. And we're going to see that. And I don't think he should be taken away and you can't even say he's dropping passes because he's not getting targets.
Well, he's dropped a couple passes. He's been targeted, but yeah.
I mean, sure.
In my opinion, the issues we saw on film at TCU, they are showing up again. But
I don't think it's
not a large enough sample size.
Yeah, it's not a large enough sample size, right? So like everyone dropped the pass. I can point to, Zay Flowers or JSN or whoever dropping passes. I'm not saying to you specifically. I'm saying to like everyone else. Because we haven't seen the larger sample size. So I don't think we can say that his hands are still a problem. Because if he got 11 targets and there were clear ball to hands and he dropped the whole 11, that's a problem. Yeah. Right? But we just haven't seen that. Anyways.
Can I tell you my tier 4 of my Dynasty wide receiver rankings? Excuse me.
Sure.
Wide receiver 11, Puka Nacua. Wide receiver 12, Jackson Smith and Jigba. Maybe a little bias. Still believing on what we could see. Wide receiver 13, Jordan Addison. 14 is Brandon Ayuk. 15 is Zay Flowers. And then I have Johnston at 24 right now because I really don't know where to place him.
Right.
But let's review the first round. Again, you could place these guys in so many different ways. In a tight end premium, Laporta is worthy of being a top 5 pick. We're not giving up on Bryce Young. It's far too early. We don't want to judge him on that just yet. Puka Nacua making history. CJ Stroud making history. Bijan being the freak one of one that he is. Projecting still good things for JSN, Gibbs. Here's what I'll say, and I don't want this to sound the wrong way. I guess you could put here's what I'll say, sorry. If you drafted Puka, Flowers, or Addison, you feel pretty good right now about your selection. Because you got them at a discount. All right, we are going into the second round now, and for time's sake, let's speed round this. All right, 10 seconds or less comments. So you're at the 201. Who are you taking here?
Okay, well, I'm going to go. I'm not sure where you have him, but this is where I have Tank
Okay.
Dell.
Yeah, exactly.
Tank Dell has surpassed all of our expectations. Somebody we both said we weren't expecting him to be anything. You actually recently put out a tweet about we have to reevaluate these smaller guys because they're not going to. These guys are relevant currently in the NFL.
Yeah.
Zay Flowers, Tank Dell, Jordan Addison. The list goes on. And the way C.J. Stroud's playing, he can easily, which we have already seen, make Tank Dell fantasy relevant. Currently through 5 weeks, wide receiver 25. No one expected that. Not me. If you did,
and
kudos to you.
It's something that I am certainly wanting to learn from. Devaluing a player because of their size. It's not something that I'd like to do anymore in my scouting process. So shout out to Tank Dell. All right, quick fire. This is where I think I would take Kincaid. I don't know about you, but still believe in him long term. Kincaid. So here's the thing. Like, Laporta is the only example really of not betting on rookie tight ends that hasn't worked out. Kincaid is not anywhere near. You can't even start him right now in fantasy. So
yeah, I know.
We're still betting on the long term there in that offense, the impact he can make. But you got the 203 here. What are you thinking?
203. I'm going to go the wide receiver room. I'm not sure where you have him either, but the way his quarterback has been playing in Anthony Richardson, I'm going to go Josh Downs here. We haven't seen too much of it, but what we've seen is that they're getting him involved in this offense. Maybe it's going to be a little bit skewed with Gardner Minshew, but still, we can see the pathway for Josh Downs and Anthony Richardson, which really excites me. I was a really big fan of Josh Downs coming in. He did fall down the draft boards, but I think he is worthy of being in the early second round personally. Just because of the PPR standpoint. If you play in PPR leagues, it can go with either way.
Yeah, I hear you. He's more towards the end of the second round for me, just because I still think A-Rich is the future of that team, and it just hasn't looked. It's looked okay, but
yeah, it hasn't looked amazing. But I think there are.
I'm excited about Gardner Minshew, but that's not the long-term answer there.
Yeah, I think there are glimmers of there really glimmers of hope when it comes down to Josh Downs when you think of this offense, moving forward.
All right, this is where I'm going to take what I would still consider one of the best handcuffs in Dynasty, Zach Charbonnet at 2-4. Talented guy. He is getting more and more opportunities. His snap share is going up. He's getting more targets. And unfortunately, he's still just a handcuff, but he's a damn good one. You're up here at the 2-5. What are you thinking?
He's a damn good handcuff. Yeah, I mean, it's actually crazy the way he's been not utilized, I guess. But we'll wait and see after the bye week. I'll go at your running back position. I know you liked him. We haven't seen much, but I can see when Alvin Kamara is gone, it's going to be Kendre Miller. So give me Kendre Miller here at the 205. We once again haven't seen much of it. Even with Jamal playing the first couple weeks, Kendre missed a lot of time. Alvin Kamara comes back, so he didn't really get the opportunity we hope and expected with Alvin Kamara's suspension. But we saw a big breakout run and how they can be utilizing him in the future when Alvin Kamara is no longer there this past week. So I can see glimmers of hope as well for Kendre Miller.
I'm with you. That's my guy. I think he's the future of that backfield. I'll go ahead and take someone who might be stepping into a starting role now. That's Rashawn Johnson, as we call him, Roscoe.
Big ol' Roscoe, baby.
2-6, excited about him. And hopefully he gets a true opportunity with Herbert having a high ankle sprain. Yeah. What are you doing at the 2-7?
Oh, man. This is where I can go so many different ways.
Yeah.
I think this is also the area where I did take a tight end. And maybe we disagree here, but Luke Musgrave.
No, that makes sense. He's my next player.
Yeah, I'm going to be taking Luke Musgrave here. Somebody, clearly, a lot of people coming into this season saying, it's Tucker Kraft. Never understood it.
Really?
But Luke Musgrave, currently tight end 19. He's getting the targets. Obviously, Christian Watson missed some time. Aaron Jones missed some time. Let's see how he is integrated with everyone on the field, but looks very promising
He's
moving
a safety
forward.
blanket, for sure.
Yeah.
All right, next player I would take off the board is probably my guy, Michael Wilson.
Okay.
I'll take him off the board here. We've seen flashes. I'm more excited about when Kyler Murray returns and eventually this team realizes that Rondale Moore is Rondale Moore. Because I do think there's a scenario in which Michael Wilson becomes a consistent flex option towards the end of the year here.
Okay. Let's go with your team with the Kansas City Chiefs and Richie Rich.
Okay.
Rashee Rice here. Haven't seen the snap percentages that we hoped and expected, but oddly enough is getting the target way more targets. I'm talking about 2 to 3 more targets than Sky Moore and Kadarius Toney. But if they can really unleash him, especially not saying it's the start of the decline for Travis Kelce, but this is, I feel
Right.
like, the first season that we've seen multiple injuries for Travis. Don't wish that upon him, but just saying you can see how he can get integrated in the long term without
Sure.
Travis Kelce.
He's great after the catch, and he's earning a high amount of targets on a low amount of snaps, so I like it. All right, next player for me would be Tajay Spears. And, you can make a case for Tajay as early as the 2.6, really. Looks explosive. Still got no ACLs. That could be a problem long term, but he looks explosive, and they're giving him more and more work, and Derrick Henry less and less opportunities, specifically through the air.
Yeah, completely agree here. I'm going to go to the Carolina Panthers. I'll take Jonathan Mingo here.
Makes sense.
We still haven't seen what we hoped and expected for him. Now they're talking about getting another big wide receiver. Maybe that's what Mingo needs. He needs a big complementary wide receiver or an alpha wide receiver to help him instead of him being the alpha wide receiver. But we saw a big game from him. Essentially this past week, caught 5 out of 7 targets, his quote-unquote biggest reception and target game. So I'm okay with that coming into the 2-11.
Yeah, I'm more concerned that they're already saying that, and they've seen Mingo.
And they've seen Mingo,
but
yeah, that 100%.
I do think Mingo is going to be better. He's earning a lot of targets, but it does concern me a little bit long term, but I hear you. I would maybe even take Marvin Mims over Jonathan Mingo, because there's a chance that Judy or Sutton is traded to the Panthers, which opens up Mims to have a larger role. I'll take him there. Not a player I was really excited about, and hasn't really proved, like, to me, he was always a guy that I felt like was a 2 to 5 target per game type player, and that's what we've seen. And it's unfair for me to say that that's the truth because it's only been 5 games, but I can recognize that there's a chance this all tears down and Mims gets more opportunities.
Yeah, and 100%.
I just wanted to quickly let's just get on the same page here, because
Sure.
we're not going to be able to do the entire third round, but in my opinion, some names that definitely should be discussed. Michael Mayer is a player I had ranked around Marvin Mims. I also had Jaden Reed ranked right around him. Tank Bigsby as well. And then I think this is probably where I would put a guy like Will Levis. You're just taking a shot on it, tearing down in Tennessee, and him getting an opportunity. Probably not going to look good. And then the other player I wanted to talk about quickly, how about Jaleel McLaughlin, undrafted free agent rookie who is making a name for himself. Looks like he's got some juice.
Big Jaleel.
After that, I would probably want to highlight Zach Evans. Hasn't had any opportunities, no touches on the year, inactive most of the time, but I still think there's a chance he gets an opportunity, especially with how unpredictable Sean McVay is deploying his running backs. I also want to quickly highlight Demario Douglas, as we call him, Pop Douglas.
Big old Pop.
And he's exciting to watch. I think he's the most exciting offensive player on the Patriots. Got a concussion last week, but there's still exciting things hopefully ahead for him. Jalen Hyatt, no time to throw the ball, and this guy's limited. He's never going to be like a route runner extraordinaire, but hopefully they get to use him down the field when their offensive line can hold up for more than a second. Then you could put the likes of like Deuce Vaughn here with what we've seen limited from him. We haven't seen much from Chase Brown, but I think there's still a chance that he develops a role.
Agreed.
I will put the likes of Hendon Hooker next, just because on a great offense, put him on your taxi, see what happens. And the last player I really wanted to highlight, there's more names that we could talk about, but just for the sake of the video, I will be putting Sean Tucker here because he is one injury away from serious opportunities. So that is it for today. Honestly, in 4 weeks from now, guys, this could look completely different. It truly could.
It could.
We're the first to tell you that things could change. We could be wrong still. Things that we believe are concrete could crumble. Things that, like Jahmyr Gibbs, my opinion on Gibbs, where I'm disagreeing with Badaki. Maybe I'm completely wrong. We'll find out. Anything is a possibility. But this is exciting. Let us know what you think in the comments below. I'm really curious to see what people think. But that's it for today, guys. Enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see you very soon. All love. Now that those idiots are done talking, who needs some rankings?
Hell yeah, I need some rankings.
Then use promo code LAND, L-A-N-D, for 30% off any membership at flockfantasy.com.
Oh.
It's so easy, even your grandma could scan that QR code right there.